classic French charcuterie dish is rillettes, and I adore rillettes because it's like pate, but it's got a combination of a few different meats without the liver. It's actually quite easy to do, but you need time. You need time for the meat to cook. Essentially, it is pork and duck combined with its own fats and cooked really slowly until the meat shreds away. It seems a little bit strange to be cooking the meat in its own fat, but by doing this, it preserves the meat and gives it a wonderful moist flavour. So I've got some onions to start with. I'm just cutting them into big chunks. I've also got 4 cloves of garlic, which I'm just going to bruise. This is all to flavour the fat when we're cooking this, and that can go straight in here, along with some spices: nutmeg, clove, white pepper and cinnamon. These flavours with the pork and the duck go so well. It's a beautiful combination. Even just on any type of meat, a little spice rub of that makes such a difference. And some herbs, a little bit of bay leaf, just one, and a big handful of thyme. We'll just scatter that around. And now for the meats. This is also done with rabbit, but rabbit's a little bit harder to get your hands on, so I'm going to be doing the duck and pork combination. This is about 400 to 500 grams of pork belly, and I'm going to cut it into 6 cubes, roughly around the same size, and we can pop that on a big tray just like this one. And we need some orange, so just 2 pieces of orange peel. Straight around. I might just do a bigger one because they're half sizes, and that can go in also, along with some water. So there's not too much water here because, like I said, it's all about the fat. Now I'm using duck fat here, and 200 grams to start with, and we'll just pour that in just all over the meat here. And now for the duck. I'm using a whole duck for this. So we need to break it down into about 8 portions. So out of the pack, I'm going to start by taking off the legs and just taking off the thigh there. So we're just going to cut the thigh away from the leg, and then they can go in. And then what I'm going to do is add a little bit of salt here, cover it with some baking paper and some foil, and this goes into an oven at about 150 degrees for 3 hours. That is just gorgeous. You can see the meat is just so tender. Look at that, just falls away. So now that it's cool, I'll just get a big bowl and I'll get one other plate here just to put the bones on. With your hands, clean hands, we're going to remove any bones. So this is the first stage, so little bones like that you want to be careful not to have in there. And the smell of the thyme and the pork and the duck together is just such a wonderful smell. It reminds me of my grandmother's house in France because this is what we would make. We would make all these small goods, you put them in the fridge and they're ready to go for a quick lunch on a sandwich, or when people are coming over, a really nice entertaining dish. It lasts for ages again because it's a preserved meat dish. All right, I'm going to stop talking because I've got a lot of work to do here. I'm going to shred all this meat until it's really fine, and then I'll show you how I like to pot this. I'll just taste some of that meat. God, that is so good. But I do still want a bit of a kick to it. So I've got a little bit of extra nutmeg there and a little bit of clove. Not too much, don't overpower it. A little bit more orange zest in there. You know, and traditionally when this was made in the old days, you would cure the meat first, so you would salt it, but I actually don't like doing that step because it makes it really, really salty. So I just go straight to cooking it in the fat. Also, a bit of salt. And just to bind this really well, I've strained the fat there. We want to add about 1/4 cup, even a little bit less, just so it binds. For some people, this will be overwhelming, but when you have pâtés and when you have the sausages and salamis, you know, fat is a very important part of this because it's flavor and I love it. So I'm going to mix this one more time, squish it together, and now it's time to pot it. So just some jars like this that have been sterilised, meaning wash them in really hot soapy water and then dry them out in an oven that's about 100 degrees. And that means it's just going to last longer in the fridge. And in my jars, just with a spoon, you want to pack it quite tightly. So squish it down there, a little bit more here. And as a sealant, I'm going to use this fat. You're not going to eat it because once it's set in the fridge and chilled, you can just scrape it off. But again, this is going to help preserve it to ensure the air doesn't come near the meat and it lasts longer. So I'm going to continue this, and they go in the fridge, chill them overnight, and they're ready to eat. They will last for a few months in the fridge, I assure you. This is a spectacular, very classic French charcuterie dish.